Dun, 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 dun. Yeah. Hello, everybody. Welcome to episode 10 of our gestating narratives sewing ritual for the collection Synthesize Being. And so let us enter into our ritual, into this space beyond time together, grounding into the earth, recognizing and acknowledging the occupied land in which we stand, and acknowledging the land of the indigenous peoples wherever you are, and also acknowledging the land in which all of our ancestors come from. And let us call into this space all of our healed ancestors to come and help guide us through the process of transformation. And also we will be calling on the elements of air, fire, water, earth, and akasha to guide us through this process of transformation as well. And as we raise this flag, may we enter into this realm that is beyond time and space, and it is the dream world, the theta delta world, the space of our dreams and our imagination, as we create within a space of imagination, imagining our interconnectivity being acknowledged in every breath, and every breath being a conscious exchange with existence. And we have here, so now let's bring over gestating narratives. We could read our poem. We've said it not in every one of these episodes, but just as a reminder, is something to guide us through as well. Perhaps I can say lines as they might feel right, or it might just be the first line that I look at or something. In this space, we also can allow we can also allow our words, our articulations and narrations to also serve as I'm laughing because my roommate's blending something, and I think maybe, I don't know if you can hear it, but even things like this that come into our present awareness, no matter where we are in time and space, through this like portal where you can see what I'm doing as a reflection of you. And so there are all these things that come into our awareness, and how are we going to respond with them? Like the blender growing right now? What is it blending? What's being blended in your own present awareness? And what's being blended in mine? And so that's thinking about that, thinking about what comes up for us when we say that. I mean, I could think that this blending is probably going to be some kind of food that nourishes the body. And it's also like blades chopping something up really fast. It's like a motor, this electric motor that's blending up. And what is it blending up in the ethers? What kind of thoughts and neurological synapses throughout our body is it creating through our awareness together? So, yeah, that is just something to say, something to be said about. That's a reflection on like how do our sewing analogies relate with our lives? You know, how do they relate with our lives? Okay, I'm gonna let the iron heat up as we kind of look at what's happening. We have some more twice turns to be making. Oh yes, and we also have this whole inner wing to think about how we're going to finish it as well. And so, you know, I'm going to measure this out, and then because we're going to make some bias today, we already cut it, but we're going to join it. And from this like scrap piece that we have, so I'm going to measure like how much more bias I'm going to need to finish off this. Perhaps not there, but okay. So we have 18. Plus 18. That's like, with a little extra, it's like 40 inches, so we can draw out the bias that we'll need. Thinking about our relationship with our materials as like, has all these different layers of conversations in them, layers of words and language. As I think about not only the weave and the pattern of the material, but also the texture, and also I'm sharpening my chalk with my scissors right now. Yeah, also the fibers, what's in the fibers, and then like how am I interacting with them? Like, this is a woven material. I'm now going to cut some bias by lining up, because this is like a kind of like a plaid weave, and this ruler has like perfect squares on it, so if I line up the diagonal square with the top and the bottom, if I line those 2 points up with one stripe, then that's what a perfect bias, just making a 45-degree angle pretty much. And you can still cut bias even if it's not perfectly 45 degrees. It just needs to be at some angle. But the more closer it is to 45 degrees, then the more curvy it's going to be able to bend around to be a binding. But if you're just binding a straight seam, you don't even need to use bias. You can just use a straight grain material. Like you can cut your strips parallel with the grain. And now we're going to get a little estimate of how many inches. 4 plus 4 is 8, plus 5 is 8, plus 5 is 13, plus 6 is 19, plus 8 is 27, plus 8 is 35, plus 9 is 44, plus 7, 44, 45, 46, 47, 48, 49, 50, 51. All right, plus another 4 is 55. So this will give us about 55 inches of bias, and then we might have some extra on the other one, so we're just going to sew these together in one long strip to make it so that to just get the most out of all of this. Cutting these degrees, reassembling them, and elongating elongating where their reach, extending their reach. It's also cutting them up. What does it mean to cut up a material that was woven together? It creates new edges. Lots of new edges that, if it's totally biased, if it's 45 degrees, it's less likely to unravel. You know, it's less likely to just fray like if it was on the grain. But if it's 45 degrees, it's less likely to unravel. I mean, you can't stitch right on the edge. It might come undone, but you might need to do a couple stitches, like a 1/4 inch in or something, depending on the tightness of the weave and the thickness of the fiber and stuff. Okay, so we'll add these to our pile of bias, and openly regurgitating the sounds. What is it to openly regurgitate? My mind. Is that an unraveling? Sometimes to unravel, to then see all the parts, to see the articulation, and then to bring it back together again. Okay, let's come back over to the iron. Come back to the iron where we were yesterday. Oh, right, we were also I remember yesterday, okay, right now I'm like trimming off this piece because I'm gonna flat fill this seam eventually. There's also this tag here. So what's going to happen when I flat fill this seam is I'm going to fold it under itself and tuck it in and then like top stitch it down here. But there's plenty to do before that happens. And wondering if I even need this. This collar is not really doing anything except for maybe holding that part together. I wonder what will happen if I unpick this collar. Okay, so yeah, it's actually fine. I can just take this collar off because it's not doing anything here anymore. It was holding other things in place, but now it's just creating bulk and it can come out. Sidelines on the sideline of my mind, hearing, unpicking, unpicking. What do I show up for? Ooh, ooh, ooh. Yeah, so I was thinking about like how, what is it? What is like how people choose to engage with each other and just how people choose to engage with their lives. And what does it mean to be like, oh, I'm holding a space for something, and then what does that really mean, like in the ethers? I think for me it means like what, it's also questioning like what is media? Like, is it information? Is it like, does it bring a sense of, how does information bring a sense of relation? And how is it integrating that? And is it even integrating that? And Yeah. I think that's part of this, right? Because a video, a recording, or a capturing is like a form of media. So how is the media that we're consuming, like, how are we relating to even what we're seeing or even what we're sharing? You know, how am I in a conversation with the camera, and then also what is beyond the camera? And then same with you. And I'm just thinking of portals, like how when we see something, it can transport. It's like a portal. I mean, a painting could be a portal into another realm. And so having that, if that is in our space and in our surroundings, then that's part of the environment that we're in. And so yeah. There's this part where the wing is like tucking inside, and it's making me want to kind of adjust how it's pinned, because it's like creating this volume, and I don't want to lose the volume, but there's also like just a lot of extra material, and also thinking about where where are these all going to stitch together? And how are they going to stitch together? Okay. So I feel like this is showing me that I need to sew so we have this piece coming down, right? But I think these pins are showing me that I need to sew inside of here. Just sewing this seam line here, and then after we do that, then we can think about how we're gonna finish this seam and how we're gonna cut the bulk out. I think there's so much unknown, and there's so much to process, but also just resting in the unknown can feel like the only thing, the only real thing. Especially when thinking about things that are out of my control or that are much bigger than me. But then at the same time, recognizing what I can do as well. Oh no. The stitches for the shoulder seam just came out, so we caught it and we're gonna bring it back through. I think part of this process is just allowing it to be a process, and it's a much different feeling than like if I was on a deadline. It's more like, okay, this is the time that I can dedicate to this process and this craft without having any real expectations for the amount I'm going to be producing. And then the amount that's produced it can be measured as in time, as like hours of video content, but it could also it doesn't have to be defined by a quantity. It can be defined by the values as well. So coming over to this area where we undid some of the previous twice turn. And just going around this and pressing it a 1/4 inch, pressing it a pinky nail or a corn kernel or the length of a short grained rice or of a raisin. Letting the iron heat up again. Folding and folding. 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 rerouting, reimagining, curving around what used to be a covering on our arms, and into resculpting into a higher frequency and this thought of a higher frequency. What is okay, so we've gone all the way around and on a single turn, and now we're going to come back around with a second turn. Coming around the silence. Okay, coming around. Coming around. It's kind of hard to get to this, so I think I'm gonna unpin this area so that it'll be easier. And as I unpin it, I'm gonna mark where it was pinned so that I don't lose that place. I should probably mark it with an actual safety pin so that the other pin doesn't fall out when I move it around. Okay. Okay. I'm gonna add some more water to our iron. Yeah, so I think that there is, despite all the unknown, something that I want to focus on is, like, what is it? How do we see, how can we bring ourselves to a place of imagining our existence together? And we don't have to know, like, exactly how we're gonna get there, but just even in small actions like this, I feel like is an action that I'm taking. right, so we ironed one of those collars, and now the collar here, where we're gonna flip these seams in on themselves, wrapping around each layer. I'm going to iron the top of the collar first so that I can wrap the collar stand, since this side of the collar stand is wrapping around the hem. I figure I might as well have this be the side that wraps around the collar as well. Now folding this side of the collar in, matching the edges up with the other side. And then wrapping the collar stand around to meet the other side. Dun, 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 to meet the other side. Okay, I think we've got a lot to work with. Yeah. Where's our yellow basting thread? Because we're gonna need some of that. I think I found one piece. I'm not sure. Oh wow. Yeah. Looks like it was already threaded in a needle. Sometimes the needle's just good to go, but actually looks like there's a knot. It's like knotted onto the needle, so we have a needle to use, but we need to take the knot out. Like we have a focus, we have a clear focus, a sharp direction. And we need to come back to this. We'll just get it ready, because before we can base this seam, we're gonna re-close the placket. Okay, so we can come over to the sewing machine. The sewing machine. We've been sewing with our thoughts. We've been sewing this and sewing that. And hello, camera. Now we're going to put the camera up here. Oh, okay. Turning this around. Pardon us as we anchor our camera. Anchoring the camera. Are you anchoring your camera somehow? If you have a camera. Okay. Let's see the foot here. Let's get a focus on the machine. Sewing machine. Okay. Nice. So we have our pile of bias here, and we're going to be stitching this together with a small stitch. And you can see how we do it. We are going to line these up perpendicular to each other, and we're going to be stitching from this corner to this corner in a diagonal line, so that when they open, let's say it's stitched like that, so that when they open it's like this, okay? And that helps when sewing, so that if you're doing a binding, all of the seam allowance isn't wrapped around in one place. It kind of like distributes the bulk, and it also makes it stronger. And so we're going to be joining all of these strips together like this with just a small stitch with no back tacks. Because if they're going to be enclosed in a binding stitch, then we don't need to back tack. And each time I add a piece, I have to make sure that I'm sewing with the same side together, so that it's not, so all the seam allowance ends up on one side. So to do that, I have to flip the edge. And you can, if you want to think through this, you could even like orient your pieces in a way that, like if there's already an angle, you could orient the piece before you sew it, as long as it's still on the same side, like so that like you're not creating waste with the seam allowance you have to cut off. It's actually like a perfect angle. And we're kind of getting lucky here with the way we're able to line things up and the direction things are going. But not every time, that's okay. So look, now we have our whole chain of these, but we need to cut them apart and trim the seam allowance and then press them. And then we have our bias to be working with. And then I'm thinking of our bias, each of us. Thinking of my bias. But it seems like my bias is, I could think of my bias in relation to my positionality. And I could also think of my bias as my experience. And yeah, I'm thinking about like how do those relate and how are they different? I think they each, oh, this is tiny stitches. We don't need to do tiny stitches, relatively, but yeah, it seems like they just kind of involve different values. Did I go off the edge? Yeah, we need to go back. I went off the edge. I'm gonna go back and overlap an inch. And yeah. Now we can get to our shoulder and oh, I'm actually remembering how we tucked one of these seams in, and I'm thinking that, like, or we tucked both of these seams in, and I'm seeing now that we don't. Here, this is what I'm looking at. This shoulder seam, right? So I'm gonna stitch this onto the inside of this shoulder so that it stabilizes the ruffling. And I had tucked these in, but now I'm thinking that I could just attach it. I could flip it out and then enclose it into the binding. But then I wonder, would that just create more bulk? So maybe I should wait to do this until I do the neck binding, and then I can join it to the neck binding. Maybe. So we'll just leave it for now until we can get to that. We have to iron out all the binding. Okay, and we can stitch our placket closed. Okay, placket. Moving this safety pin over. looks like we can finish the hem off as well. Okay, so now we're gonna stitch these collars. It's actually one collar that has now become two pieces, and we're having to finish off where they were cut apart. The splitting of the seas or of the rivers. The rivers changing directions. Going to do a stitch length at 0 so that we don't have to back tack, and we'll just stitch in the same place a few times. Move it up and then we can go forward. Okay, and then we'll just continue and then the next one we do can come around and we'll stitch it starting from here, and so just using our scissors to make sure that our folded seams are not sticking out. Okay, now we can finish joining these two collars together now. And sometimes we feel like maybe we need to respond to something right away, and I'm just sitting here feeling like I don't want to respond to that, but that's probably because I'm here in this moment. And so what I'm responding to is my present reality. So then I wonder, like, oh, that's going backwards. Let's go forwards. Like moving forward in our lives, in our minds, making choices because it's what we want to bring into the world. And it looks like this looks like this material has like a kind of a discoloration. But so yeah, what do we want to bring more of into the world with the prayers that we're stitching into what we're creating? and like the intention and like the vibration of what we're creating, and just, yeah, being really rooted in this place where it's even our conversations with ourselves and with other people, like, how can it be rooted in a place that's in that frequency, while we're still processing, and while we're still cultivating it. Holding space for ourselves to be present with where we're at. Tucking this all in together. There's a spot where the collar is sticking out, and I just saw a tag. It says 58% rayon, 42% polyester, when thinking about our materials. took out the seams so that we can tuck these in better. Okay, got those things. Oh yeah, we still have our sleeve. We still have that whole sleeve to figure out. We didn't iron any of those, but let's see. Are there other things to stitch? Here, I found something. This is on the side where there's this enclosed, we're enclosing a seam into a twice turn hem. Oh, maybe that's why we haven't pressed this yet, because we needed to do this. There's an area here where the seam didn't fully get tucked in, and so we're going to unclip this part. Okay. I wonder if this will work. I'm gonna just see what is happening. Okay. There. Okay. And yeah, we can definitely flat fill this situation when we get there, and let's come over to the ironing board. I think, well, no, we could stitch this, I suppose. Yeah. Can stitch this, but part of me feels like it's not really clear where we're stitching. It's like these pins are holding something, but We might need to hand sew that. Oh yeah, and we do have this whole area where we want to gather in so shall we figure out where we're going to be gathering from. Yeah, that's a good question. Oops. Maybe if we move over here, you could see me. All right, there's this seam that we're gonna gather, and I don't want the gathering stitch to be where this stitch is for the placket, and the seam allowance here is tucked in about a little bit here and here. So I'm gonna just do the gathering stitch right below where it's a single layer. And we're just gonna do like an even frequent gather. Why? I don't like what that looks like. I wonder if it would be more secure if there were more layers. I thought I would try that, but we don't like what that looks like. So let's try it. Let's try it on that seam line. Maybe it'll give it a nice volume if it's like bouncing out of a stiffer gather. Just remembering to be present in my body and to feel myself on the ground, connected to everything below. We're not going to be these close in our gathers, but it's just a way for me to bring them all to like an evening. Do, do, do. Can you hear the person in the background singing? Wonder if we can, as that's a part of our environment, I wonder how we can harmonize with that. Ooh, ooh, yeah, 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 yeah. Okay, so this is the span that it's gonna reach. I'm just gonna knot off the end of the basting, or like tack it off so that I have the right length, and then I can just balance, like move the ruffles to a place where they're like evenly distributed. Should we even evenly distribute them, or what should we put them more scrunched in the center? If I'm what I want to say I'm feeling more scrunched in the center, but I don't even know what that means. It could be like all of my energy has come to like this place of being materialized into a body, and so in that sense maybe it just is these just in this seam. I know this seam doesn't necessarily represent my body, but And this moment is a reflection of me and my existence. Maybe that's just where it's gonna be. Now, should we stitch it? Should we stitch it on this side? Yeah, probably, because we can see better. Because we can just line up this seam with that, but it's going to be this side that shows, so I feel like I might need to hand stitch this part on as well. Just pinning the gathers where we've distributed them to. Oh, but now I'm thinking of like decentralized organization. And what does that look like? Maybe each part being centered within themselves. I just like the aliveness of how it's more gathered in one area. And I think that it also is doing that in different parts where the wings are gathered. Okay. So are we gonna sew this right now? Right here and now? Maybe, might as well. Might as well. We'll use our blue thread for this. I'm going to use a double thread and I think, okay, I need to go wash my hands because before I start hand sewing, I just felt like washing my hands. I'll be right back. Hey, so my wrists are feeling kind of tight and cramped, and my hands are. And emotionally, it feels like I'm reaching for something, and it's kind of straining. I feel like I'm straining to reach for to create some sort of meaning out of garbage, or like garments that I found in a thrift store, and perhaps like people maybe somebody would have wanted these how they were already, but I think also for me, I didn't want them how they were. When I saw them being blended together. And I'm just thinking about like colonialism, capitalism, patriarchy, white supremacy, and thinking about these systems and how they're interconnected, and that they are interconnected, and in that where is there space to move beyond those, to recreate our worlds and recreate our realities? And to me, making and envisioning how to recreate from past disassociations is a way to regenerate love. And in my hands, how can I regenerate love if I'm feeling like tense? And like like I'm reaching for something and it's like I'm straining myself to reach for it or something. So maybe there's another part that wants to come through to be a part of this. Or maybe this is a part of something that's greater than me, and it definitely is. And so how can I hold that awareness and not overreach? Okay. My wrists feel better now. They just had to say that. We just had to say that together. Part of that right now feels like just being present with where we are. And I know I can say that all day long, but every time I say it, it feels like it means something different, because it's like, you know, I could be present with where I am physically, but mentally, if I'm thinking about like what's not here, or then that's not really being in the present. You know, that's not accepting our present. Our present is right here. We need to remember that with each other. We're doing a double stitch or a double thread, and we anchored into our material, and we're just holding ourselves and our being in our hands, holding our material with that as we are coming together. I might need to like repin all of this because it's kind of getting in the way, because things are not laying in how we want to be holding this as we stitch. So we're just gonna flip the pins over. Just flipping everything so that when we hold it, we can hold it and just move along. Doing these little stitches. Each little stitch. Dee-do-do-da. Dee-do-da-da-da. How can each stitch, as I make each stitch, how can that feel good? Doing something that feels straining is not. I don't think it's really worth doing, like kind of that's another kind of sewing term, like haste makes waste. When we do something, out of haste. With sewing and with any industry or anything in life, like if we're doing it for short-term gain, if we're trying to cut corners, we're going to be wasting the not only resources and our energy, but also like we're going to be wasting what is ever present, and we're going to be wasting our experience. And that might be easier said than done, because a lot of people are expected, not a lot, most people are expected to perform faster and faster. And if they're not straining themselves, they're straining something else, somebody else. So how can we move? Moving slowly, moving in elongated brain waves where our awareness expands beyond one thing, and it might see how much deeper everything is connected. I got this wooden marimba, and I never learned how to like read music or play any kind of music theory before, and I just like to play around with it sometimes, and I feel like the marimba just like kind of has been teaching me how to play it, and it feels deeply connected with whoever made it and whatever tradition it came from. And then also thinking about craft recently, like in my art class, we had a seminar on craft, and somebody had said somebody had quoted an episode 1 from crafting memory, or no, that was their seminar group name. It was like Craft in America or something, I don't know, maybe it was Crafting Memory. There was like a PBS show, and it was episode 1 that we all watched, and then we talked about it, and there was a blacksmith on there who was talking about the tradition of a craft kind of like being passed down through a lineage, and how, I'm not sure if this, being passed down through a lineage, which makes me think of like how the craft in itself, the motions, the words in themselves are like a language in themselves, and it like feels like a language of the wisdom that they carry too, in relation to what they are and their essence in this existence. Stitching our ruffles, stitching our ruffles. Do we have one stitch per ruffle? It's like, what do we really say to a live public audience, and what do I not say? And then what I say, how? Feels kind of conflicted, because there's some, I think the medicine of healing circles is that they can be somewhat contained. But it might be a reach to call this a sewing circle. Unless I am maybe a sewing web. Ooh. We're not doing sewing circle time, we're doing sewing web time. And so when we're present with what we're processing, what we're emptying, just reminding myself to process and empty. Spiraling, circling thoughts, noticing them, and then actively imagining, actively exercising our imagination to move beyond that perspective. If there's a thought, I notice it, and then actively move beyond it. And I feel like the action of sewing can like ingrain that muscle memory. We're gonna have to nod off because we're running out of thread.
I'm like on a weird high right now because I won't have to play on my favorite song, John Gilmore, I literally just got out of it like that.
Nodding off. Knotting, nodding, noting. Ooh, do, boo, 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 boo. Okay, now that we've stitched it on, now we can remove our basting stitch. All right. There it is. And now was there other hand stitching? Stretching. Yeah, maybe it's this. Maybe it's that little area that we talked about hand sewing. That area where the wing is, like the ocean below the wing is tucking into the waist. The ocean below the wing is tucking into the waist. Yeah. That's really deep. That's really deep in there in the ocean. In more ways than one. If you know what I mean. Okay. So we have many different things to close up here. So I'm just gonna start up a little ways. Stitching down the wing. Just going into the exact four corners of all the major seams coming together, and and anchoring them together with each other with the stitch. Okay, now we're coming around here, and the wing needs to be attached. Like we're not going to be lining up with the edge of the collar for this part. We're going to need to reposition and move down.
feel like you fully see the depth. Sometimes I get daydreaming. And that means that sugary, like because it's like just the I try to be natural, but did not. I will never forget the time. It was the day that we showed the stock teaching. We had to get their pictures that day. And I was like, friends, we have so long to boil. Not realizing that like the truly was not on. Because the light was so red. So I was like, it was so high. I just got do you want to get this like and every time I think about it, I will think to myself, what would I have
9 knots. Unknotted. 9 knot. 9 no knot. No, not 9. Okay, we're coming to the end. I've gone a couple minutes over, but I think it was worth it to finish out this seam. And tomorrow we can, or Monday, we can start pressing out the bias together. So, yeah, thank you. Thank you for being here. Thank you for coming along this ways with us. Closing chair. Let me get the imagination flag. So we want to thank all of our ancestors and our spirit, the spirit who guides us. We thank all of the elements that have come along in holding this space, this dream imagination space for us. And yeah, thank all of them for guiding us through. And would like to lower the imagination flag and release this realm from this ritual. And so thank you for coming along today, and we'll see you next time.